And in the big finish tonight, you know, they just don't stop, do they? The Republicans tonight killed the Disclose Act with another filibuster. The Democrats were, what? 7 votes short. The bill would have required groups to release the names of anyone who contributes more than $10,000. It would have applied to both parties. Both parties. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says the vast majority of donations are coming from about a dozen huge donors.
If this flood of outside money continues, the day after the election, 17 angry old white men will wake up and realize they've just bought the country.
Sheldon Adelson is one of those 17 so-called angry white men who are trying to buy the country. Adelson's a GOP sugar daddy who runs casinos overseas. He's funneled millions of dollars into Republican races. Now Adelson and his wife have reportedly dropped $5 million into the YG Action Fund, Young Guns. The fund started this year with about $55,000. It was created to help so-called young guns like Paul Ryan and Kevin McCarthy. But Adelson's $5 million will probably go to this young gun. House Majority Leader Eric Cantor could really use the help in the first place. The latest poll shows that he could have a fight on his hands this November. 43% of the likely voters in Cantor's district say that he should be replaced. 41% want to send him back to Washington. That's well within the margin of error. $5 million could swing the vote in Cantor's favor. But Cantor's buddies in the Senate killed the Disclose Act, so we'll never know if Adelson bought the leadership in Congress or not. I'm joined tonight by Tom Perriello, former congressman from Virginia, now the president and CEO of the Center for American Progress Action Fund. Tom, great to have you with us tonight. $5 million in a congressional race is a heck of a lot of money, isn't it?
You know, it's like a lot of money just about any way you slice it. And to not even know who's trying to buy elections, who's trying to sway elections, is an insult to the American people, particularly those in the working and middle class who are struggling to get by.
So doesn't this just play to the sensibilities, the common sense of American people? I mean, why are the Republicans trying to just kill this Disclose Act and anything to move forward?
Well, it's a little bit like Mitt Romney and his taxes. The question is the pain they get for not disclosing to the American people worse than what would actually be disclosed? In this case, these are people who are giving money because they want something in return. Mitt Romney put out a tax proposal recently that rewards companies for sending American jobs overseas. We're not talking about what he did in the past. We're talking about his current proposals reward companies. And you see someone like Sheldon Adelson who's making this money overseas, and we're talking about billions in tax returns that makes a $5 million check to them just a good investment in these politicians and what they expect to get from them in return, and the middle class will get stuck with the bill.
So do you think today that the Republicans probably lived up to a promise? I mean, I can imagine these people going to these billionaires saying, look, give us a bunch of money. You're never going to have your name put on it. There's going to be no disclosure of any of this at all. Was this a payback vote?
Well, these are Republicans that just 10 years ago were saying, hey, all we need is disclosure, and then that's enough to let people decide from that we don't need caps. Well, they won that decision in a bad Supreme Court decision, and now they're saying forget disclosure. We don't even want to give voters the right to know who it is that's buying up these Republican politicians. To have not a single Republican, not a Scott Brown, not a Snow or a Collins, cross the aisle to say that citizens have a right to know who's trying to buy their elections is just an outrageous thing.
Well, could this help Democrats? I mean, you mentioned Scott Brown's name. I mean, Elizabeth Warren and Scott Brown are neck and neck. I mean, could this be a real key moment in that campaign?
Look, I know there are a lot of working and middle-class folks out there who may have been leaning Republican. When they're seeing what's happening here with folks writing $100 million checks or $100 million pledges, they know that those folks don't care a whit about the working and middle class. So I think in a place like Massachusetts, this could be a big factor. Someone who ran saying they wanted to clean up Washington, then they come and get a sweetheart deal for Wall Street speculators, and then say that they don't want citizens to have the right to know who's writing five-figure checks to politicians. They should have to pay a price for it at the polls, but of course they're going to get a lot of money from these folks to try to muddy that water. But I think the American people are a lot smarter and able to see through that.
Another day at the office, another filibuster by the Republicans. Tom Perriello, great to have you with us. Thank you for joining us on The Ed Show. That's The Ed Show. I'm Ed Schultz.